Hello, welcome to WeLearn. Today we have this interesting topic on board. Yes, we are going to do a comparison between front-end validation versus back-end validation, and we are going to see which validation, whether the front end or the back end, which one is stronger than the other. Some people are saying that front-end validation is quite okay, and some people are saying no, back-end validation is okay. Others are saying it's better we implement both of them. So today we are going to take a look at this front-end validation and back-end validation. We are going to see which one is stronger than the other, which one can be manipulated, which one cannot be manipulated, which one should be used, which one should not be used, whether to use both of them or not. So in this tutorial we are going to learn, or we are going to enlighten ourselves on which validation to use on our application to be built henceforth. So without much ado, let's hop into it. So we have two forms. The one on my left is front-end registration form, and to my right is back-end registration form. You will be asking, what shows this a front-end registration form and what shows this a back-end registration form? Okay, so I have this Chrome extension right here on my Chrome. I downloaded this Chrome, so when I click on it, you see this page is using the development build of React. So this shows that this site is using React, and React is a front-end library. Now let's come to this site too. When I click on it, it says this page doesn't appear to be using React, so this is not using React. So actually I'm using Node for this side. That's the one on the right hand, the back end registration form. I'm using Node Express for this one, and to my left is normal React that I'm using. So we are going to compare these two and see which validation is stronger than the other. We are going to see whether if front end is stronger than the back end or the back end is stronger than the other. Which one should we start first? Okay, now let's start with the front end. So we are starting with the front end. Let me make it full screen. So this is our front end registration form. You can type. Now let's go to the next. It should be a valid email address. Okay, now let's type any valid email address. So say had or anything at gmail.com. Now that is valid, no error is showing. Password should be 8 to 20 characters and include at least one letter, one number, and one special. So now let's type a strong password. Now our password is strong, our username too is okay. Let's try and miss something. Username should be 3 to 16 characters and shouldn't include any special. So in case I include any special, it's going to show me an error. Now everything is okay right now. When I click on the submit button, I'm going to receive form submitted successfully. That means there is no error. Okay, so the validation is okay. Let's refresh the page and try again. Now everything is gone. Let's try and see whether you can manipulate this one and submit it and see if we are going to get a successful submission of the forms. Now let's inspect this page. Let me increase it a bit. Okay. Just opening them up. So we have this for the username. We have label, input, name, username, type is text, placeholder, username, and then pattern. So we have required to be true. That means you cannot submit this form without filling this input. I think all of them two are having the same thing. The email aspect, label, email, name, email type, placeholder, this. Now focus, false, value, no value, and come to the password too. You've given it a required, and then a pattern it should follow. Same applies to the username. So what we are going to do is we are going to see if we can manipulate this and submit. Whether after manipulation we are going to see if we can submit it and have a successful submission of the form. Now let's edit it. So we are going to edit as HTML. This is educational purpose. Now let me clear this focus to the pattern, cleared everything, then I click outside. Same apply to the email, edit as HTML. I remove the focus from there and then the required from there. Now I click outside. Now let me edit the password as well. So edit as HTML, remove the focus including the pattern from there. Now we have cleared all the constraints and everything from this HTML. Now let's go and manipulate it and see, try and submit it and see if you are going to get a successful submission or not. Now let's close this place, let's close it. Now username, if you can recall, it takes 3 to 16 or 3 to 10 characters for the username without special keys. So I input 2, 3, 2, nothing. I can input a special keys for it. Okay, nothing. That means this place is okay. Email, this should be email because you are using the email for this. So gmail.com. Then the password, we had 8 to 16 including one letter, capital letter, lowercase letter, special case and a number. But now you can input anything and see. Now let's submit it and see if you are going to get a successful submission. Oops, now see, form submitted successfully. So normal front end validation, so you can see someone can manipulate the HTML by inspecting and clearing those constraints from there and still submit it, and it will go into your database if you have no extra backup. So this one, there is a question mark over here, so we need to take very good care about this thing. Now let's move on to our back end and see what we have for there. So back end, so this is our back end. Now let's try and submit something and see. Let's use the same names as, say, hard. Let's submit and see. Normal submission, it says all field must be filled. Okay, back to forms, name, hard, email. Let's type anything. Say please include at. Now let's include that one, gmail.com. Password, let's type any. Submit. Username too short. Now let's go and correct that one. So you can say WeLearn, and then our email learning@gmail.com. Password, let's use some nice combination and see. Okay, so user added successfully. Now let's get back to our forms. Now let's try to inspect this and see if we can manipulate this HTML to clear all the constraints and see if we can submit and then get what a successful submission. So now let's expand this and see what we have in our HTML. Okay, so label for our username normal. Okay, so there's no required, no pattern for us to clear. Input, okay, email, type email, there's no required, there's no pattern for us to clear. Okay, so actually there's nothing here for us to clear. There's nothing here for us to clear. Yes, there's nothing here for us to clear. So with this alone, you can say you have, I can say, comparing it to what we have with the front end, you can say this one is okay, because checking our constraint, checking our HTML, the user or the client cannot manipulate the HTML in order to get rid of all these constraints. Yes, so comparing this to our front end, we can say the back end is safer than the front end. Yes, because the back end, there can't be any manipulation in the HTML structure. when you inspect it. But the front end, you quite record that you can manipulate it. Yes, you can change it, inspect and change certain things. You can change the attributes, clear all the attributes, and then you will be able to submit the form successfully. But with this, there is nothing there for you to clear. There is nothing in the input for no attribute, no constraint attribute there for you to clear. So during the conclusion, we can say back-end validation is stronger than the front-end validation. Back-end validation is stronger than the front-end validation. Yes. And then saying they should say, okay, so should I use only back-end for my? No, sometimes no. Front-end has its own purpose and back-end has its own purpose. Yes, so you can use both, and I'll say it's okay for you to use both. Yeah, some users will think, or some clients will think they are smarter than the developers, so let them go and clear the attribute, the constraint attributes. But trust me, if you implement both and he clears that one, he would think that he's so dumb. Yeah, he's going to know that he's so dumb to clear, because he's not going to be able to clear the server side. How is he going to clear the server side? No. So it will be best for you to implement both. Yeah, implementing both. You, the front end developer, do your part, and the back end developer to do his or her part. But you doing your part as a front end developer, you are going to help the back end developer. Yes, although he is going to implement it, but he's going to make the thing more fun. Yes, so doing everything, cutting everything, yeah, it will be best to implement both. And know that don't trust front end validation. With this, you can see that front end validation comparing to the back end validation, has totally killed front end validation, because front end validation, the user can manipulate the HTML and still submit, but with the back end, the user cannot do all these things. So you can say we are bringing everything, we've brought everything to an end, and now you know your stand comparing these two. Yes, thank you for watching this. I hope you've subscribed to it, and if you haven't subscribed to it, click on the bell so that you don't miss any new upload from us. We learn, join us, learn together, acquire new knowledge, acquire new skills. We are exploring tech together.